Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tier, where I feature a different rock and roll artist every day whose birthday it is today. I haven't done this in a while. I've been very busy trying to prepare math lectures, video math lectures for my upcoming math school. So haven't done any videos here in about a week. But anyway, I thought today was too big an artist to skip. Today is the birthday of Jim Morrison of the Doors, shown here. He was part of a club they call the 27 Club. He died at age 27, around the same time as two other great rock and roll artists who also died at age 27. All three of them of drug overdose. The other two were Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. But anyway, as you probably all know, Jim Morrison was the lead singer of this band here called The Doors. They were a very big psychedelic band in the late 60s and early 70s, and they had several big hits and big albums. Their first big album was just called The Doors. This came out in 1967, and this had their biggest hit song, Light My Fire, which I think is a really excellent song. One of the greatest psychedelic rock songs of all time, in my opinion. It was also remade by Jose Feliciano, I think in 1968, the following year. His version was entirely different sounding, also excellent, but he kind of a mellow love ballad version of it, whereas the Doors version was more psychedelic. The other big songs on this album were Break On Through to the Other Side, um, The Crystal Ship, um, Backdoor Man, and The End. And their music was kind of strange, I think, but it was really excellent. And Jim Morrison, I don't know what his thing was, but he had some very cryptic lyrics on a lot of his songs. I don't know too much about his personal life, really, but apparently I know that he was a big drug addict. Maybe a lot of his music was influenced by the drugs he took. It probably was, but he had a lot of images. Anyway, I'll get to that later, but I think his music was really excellent, even if it was a little strange. The next big album for the Doors was called Strange Days. This had some other big hits. This came out in 1968, or no, later in 67. It had the People Are Strange as well as Love Me Two Times and When the Music's Over. In 68, they had an album called Waiting for the Sun. This had Hello, I Love You. Another, I think he had, the Doors had two number ones. That was their second one. I really like Hello, I Love You. Kind of a strange song. It was probably a good pickup line in the 60s. I don't think it would be today, but anyway, it starts Hello, I Love You. Won't you tell me your name? I don't think that would go over well too many women these days, but it was a popular song. They also had Not to Touch the Earth, The Unknown Soldier, and 5 to 1, this album. And then the next year, 1969, they had a hit album called The Soft Parade, and this had their hit song Touch Me, another great song by them. And in 1970, they had an album called Morrison Hotel. This had the hit Roadhouse Blues, which I think is a really good song. Like I said, Jim Morrison's uh, songs were kind of cryptic in their lyrics, but there's a line in this song I really like. He says, "The future is uncertain, and the end is always near." Pretty dark lyric, but I felt this way a lot myself. I mean, it's kind of a common feeling if you're depressed, and I've been depressed for many years. Not lately, but I thought this from time to time. So I kind of know what Jim Morrison was probably going through at this time, and this was just shortly before his death. The last big album the Doors had with Jim Morrison was called "L.A. Woman." This had some other great songs on it, including "Love Her Madly." Um, Riders on the Storm, and the title track LA Woman. LA Woman's another really interesting song. I don't know how many people realize this, but Jim Morrison actually used an anagram of his name in the song, Mr. Mojo Rising, which he repeats several times in the middle of the song. I never knew what it used to mean. I think about 20 years ago, one of my friends told me that it was an anagram for his name, which is kind of interesting. I guess that was kind of his signature, just like Alfred Hitchcock had his cameo appearances in all of his movies at the beginning. Kind of, I guess, a cameo lyric or something like that. But anyway, as I mentioned several times earlier, Jim Morrison died. He died on July 3rd of 1971 at age 27. It was a tragic death. He was in Paris at the time with his girlfriend at his girlfriend's apartment, shown here, and he died, like I said, of probably heroin overdose. The French government wouldn't allow for an autopsy, so they never actually completely determined the cause of his death, but it was known that he was using a lot of heroin, so most likely it was a death from heroin overdose. And here's his girlfriend. Her name was what was it? Pamela Corson. And here's the grave, his grave in the Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. People left a lot of flowers there. I think I heard there used to be graffiti on the grave too. But actually, I was at the Père Lachaise Cemetery last time I was in Paris in 1995, and I wasn't able to find his grave, unfortunately. I was there for about an hour. It's a big cemetery. A lot of other famous people are buried there, including Chopin. I did get to see Chopin's grave, but I never found Jim Morrison's. Anyway, that's my profile on Jim Morrison. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.